Hey guys, it's Shama here for Instagram Live. Now, we are focusing a lot of our Instagram Live on specifically how people are managing the COVID-19 crisis and a lot of the small business issues. And I have a couple key questions here that I'm going to be answering for everyone. So, first of all, it is correct that there is a $350 million, $350 million stimulus package that's going to be coming through for small businesses, specifically to help them with payroll. Now, what does that mean? Well, when we start to think about how we're looking at processing payroll, how you're looking at covering those costs, the stimulus package is really not designed to help provide ongoing kind of growth opportunities, but they're specifically designed around how to maintain the ability to pay your employees. So there are a lot of different pieces of information out there in terms of what you need to fill out and how. We do have some resource documents that we'll be linking out in our Instagram bio, so that you guys will be able to link out to that and be able to access and download those documents so you can start the process yourself. But there are a few things that I think are important for us to go over in terms of who this might be applicable for and if your business can apply for it. So the thing that is important to realize here is if you have not launched your business or you do not have employees, you're not necessarily going to be eligible to file for this. So for example, it's not a hey, I need money to jumpstart my business type of loan. It's a bit more of a, hey, I need to be able to, fund my existing operations. And what's interesting about that is the process that it's going to take is a bit longer than most people are anticipating. So when you think about the timelines right now to submit your applications, you're looking at 21 days for some sort of initial approval, and then you're also looking at possibly another month to be able to get those approvals. So what do you need to show in those documents? You're going to have to show the last couple years of your operating and your P&L, your taxes. You're going to need to show the decrease, so your monthly cash flow statements in terms of how your business has decreased in revenue. That's also going to be very important. And then you're also going to have to show kind of your full 2019 monthly revenue stream. So the idea here is that you're able to showcase exactly where you might have seen the decrease in revenue and then how this might have actually impacted your business. So unfortunately for a lot of small businesses or startups or ones who haven't quite launched yet, getting access to those funds are going to be a little bit more challenging. But if you are in business and if you are kind of suffering through not only a loss of sales, which is now impacting your operating systems and employees, that's going to be a good opportunity for you to recoup some of those losses. But you are going to have to be able to fund your business for the next 60 days or so to be able to get there. Okay, so aside from all of those loan documents, there are some other things that, we need to be considering as we're looking into this crisis. The first thing that I think is really important is a lot of people have been asking, how long is this going to be lasting and how long do I need to plan for this for? Right now, what we're seeing, and I want to be really clear about this, people who have their businesses and their brands that are currently in production, when you're thinking about, India's shut down for the next month or what's happening with manufacturing, in Spain, the most important thing to realize is that India was actually really smart in, hey there, Raphael. India was really smart in how they did their lockdown, which means, obviously it's a country with a huge population. Anyone who's had any sort of ideas or been to India, the factories, Bombay, it could be a heavily dense population. And so what India did was very preemptively intelligent. They said, let's get ahead of this before this crisis devastates our economy and devastates our people. So when it comes to thinking about how you're going to be reactivating with manufacturing, really important to realize that, manufacturing facilities will be opening up and they are simply shutting down for the time being, at least in India, in order to take preventative measures. Now, factories in Spain right now are seeing a lot of issues. They were a bit slower on how they were treating the pandemic. Now factories there are starting to shut down after it's been devastating the people for some time. So, hey there. So what I think is important is as we're kind of looking at the supply chain and as you're looking at how the supply chain is evolving, you have to ask yourself, where am I manufacturing right now? And have I actually set up the right systems in place to be able to weather the storm? Meaning, as a small business owner who maybe has a manufacturing counterpart in China, has a manufacturing counterpart in India, you definitely want to make sure that you're in touch with your factories because, guys, when they do open up, there is going to be a backlog. So many of you guys who joined our webinar last week on Friday will notice that we actually talked about when trade shows we thought they were going to be reopening and when they thought we'd see a big surgence of them. Now, as of today, right, when we spoke with Hillary from Brand Assembly, they're still moving forward with their June trade show. As far as I'm concerned, a lot of the other trade shows will be going forth in August and in July in men's market. So we have yet to see this really impact the selling season for spring, summer 21. So what do you do if the trade shows, in fact, do end up shutting down? There are a number of different platforms out there that are really transforming how we're looking at digital selling. Now, obviously, companies like Jor and New Order were really first to market and how they were taking the selling platform from just being at trade shows to now integrating the selling process on something digitally, which really transformed the industry. But now we're seeing other kinds of innovation in terms of selling through software. So being able to have the runway shows, or being able to show your lookbooks, being able to show much more 360 and 3D detailing on there. So I would say, guys, really start to take a look at what are the different platforms out there that you might be able to leverage just in case the trade shows end up not being the right route for you, right? That's obviously something that you have to consider. And I would say that we'll get a better read on that in the next month. So everything is kind of shifting on a day-by-day basis. So as manufacturing starts to rebound, you have to ask yourself, where are we going to find the opportunities to be able to showcase? By the time the trade shows come around, will you have your samples, right? So obviously chasing samples, getting your photo shoots together. So from an industry standpoint, take a look at all of your resource partners and everyone who you normally hire up and stack up to work with before you normally go into a trade show. You're going to need to keep them all basically on speed dial or on a text message thread as you get more information and as your samples come up. Now, we are seeing some brands that are currently going live with new merchandise this month of March. Spring 2 deliveries, maybe it was a late spring delivery. But we're still seeing brands that are going live with new products. So what do you do if you're currently sitting on, hey there, what do you do if you're currently sitting on product and you're wondering, okay, how do I hawk this stuff, right? What do I do from a marketing standpoint? The very first thing, if you have product that's full price that you don't want to mark down, is really start to think about how you're going to be communicating to your audience, and if you have the opportunity to take flash sales, intermittent discounts, and ways of actually rewarding your most loyal customers. So that doesn't mean that you go on Instagram and you do a massive blast for 30% off of your whole store. It means you start to contact your top 10, 25% of your customers and address them and say, hey, we are, obviously we're all going through this crisis. You're some of our most loyal customers. We're a small business. We'd like to extend a special discount to you for being some of our most loyal customers as we're all kind of weathering through the storm. What does that do? Number one, it really gives the customer a sense of feeling special, right? It gives them the opportunity to feel like, hey, I'm being recognized here as a big kind of supporter of this business. It also helps to protect your inventory. So now all of a sudden, you're not necessarily in the business of putting everything on sale right now. You're strategically rewarding those who've already been supporting your business along the way. And I think that that's very important to recognize that. You want to start to tier things out. Let's say after you go after a marketing strategy where you're rewarding your most loyal customers, you're then going to move into a place where you're starting to do particular flash sales, maybe on certain items that you have a lot of inventory in. Now, those items should also be items that are not particularly ready for carryover, and also items and products that you're not really focused on like having to sell through for this season. Great. I'm so happy to see these questions are rolling in here. Do I think shops are willing to put out the cash with all the uncertainty? It's a really good question. So right now, there are a lot of canceled purchase orders. So what are the canceled purchase orders? Essentially, a lot of the retailers said, holy bananas, The world's on fire. We're going to start canceling orders. Now, what ended up happening wasn't that all those orders got canceled. That was the first response. In fact, a lot of brands out there still continue to sell their goods either through negotiating better terms, offering discounts, or being able to do products on consignment in order to see if they can move through goods. So if you currently have your product and the cancellation of that purchase order is about to come up, this isn't the opportunity to go, oh shit, what am I going to do? This is the opportunity to reach back out to that retailer and say, hey, I know you're concerned about sell-through. I know you're concerned about products not moving. What can we do together? Excuse me. What can we do together to help to alleviate this inventory flow? Can we do better terms, right? Can we do things that are actually more beneficial and more of a win-win? Okay, so let's see. The next question we got here is, okay, what are some resources for fabrics and yardage at this time? Okay, so guys, when you're looking at the fabrics and yardage, okay, so obviously you can go online to find fabric and do sourcing and things like that. I mean, obviously it's going to be challenging to walk into a place like Mood Fabrics and to be able to kind of walk the selling floors. And most recently in Los Angeles, we had Los Angeles Textile. That was great if you had a chance to be there and kind of walk around and see fabrics. But when you're looking at sourcing fabrics and yardage, if you currently have a design development team, this is going to be a great opportunity for you to be asking them to be able to go out and source fabrics for you. They usually have a bank of swatches, right? So most of your design and development teams will have books of swatches that you can go through, and they should be able to mail those to you. However, you can also order swatches online. What's challenging about that, guys, is to be able to really source innovative fabrics at great prices, you need to be able to go in person. And a lot of these websites are just not really like e-com friendly for sourcing, meaning it's a lot more difficult to be able to go into a website and actually see it and have a stronger understanding of what you're looking at. So if you already know the kinds of fabrications that you're looking for, it'll be much easier for you to navigate these online suppliers of sourcing. Because you can send them an email and say, I'm looking for this, and this, what do you have? And you can start to get on the phone and start to see what they have possible and see if they can ship that out to you. Now, the challenging thing is when it comes to sourcing, if you're at the nascent stage of working in your business, or you're kind of dreaming about the next collection and you're looking for an opportunity to get some sourcing, that's going to be more challenging because you're not going to have the same kinds of inspiration. So my suggestion there would be either to partner up with a product development and sourcing consultant or agency who's going to be able to help guide that to you and send those pieces to you, or to start to take a look and figure out just through research online the kinds of fabrics you might be looking for when you start that sourcing process. But again, that's going to be a bit challenging because there's nothing quite like going through the inspiration of being able to touch and feel fabrications. Also a good time for sourcing to take a look at what those trade shows are that you would normally be going to, and take a look at their resource list. So if you're wondering where do I even start, you start where the trade shows are. And that means going to Premier Vision online. That means looking at LA Textiles online. That means looking at Tex World online and seeing who is actually showing or who was showing at those trade shows. Really easy way to be able to then start to source because you're reverse engineering it. Okay, next question that I have here is how can we make ourselves more marketable? So I think this question is related to the first one here, which is what skills should wholesale professionals be learning right now? How can we make ourselves more marketable? So what's interesting about, thinking about the wholesale landscape is everything is still based on relationships. Everything is still based on how you are working on those relationships with those buyers, how you're kind of getting out the messaging on sell-through performance, being able to get a read on the pulse in terms of how products are selling. All of those relationship building skills are still really important. So even though trade shows might be shifting, even though you might be seeing a shift towards these digital platforms, the thing that's not going to shift is that the industry is based on relationships. The industry is based on, most of the time, a handshake. Scary, I know, but so true. And so when you're thinking about, as a wholesale person, how can you take advantage of this opportunity to grow skill sets. One of my biggest concerns here is that we see a lot of people trying to develop additional skill sets and then calling themselves experts and then not really adding value. And that is one thing that I actually, talk to my clients about a lot. Be wary of the jack of all trades. Be wary of the person who can run this and run that and do this and do the other that hasn't had the experience, but maybe has just had the education. You want someone who actually has the experience, who can run these things for you. So as a wholesale professional, you really need to be able to double down in your space. That means you need to get on all of the demos of every single online platform that's going to be where business is heading. Jor, New Order, there are so many others that are launching. You need to be very familiar with all of those platforms because there are a whole host of businesses out there that have zero clue of how to do business in an age of isolation. So updating your skills on customer relationship management, get familiar. What are all the CRMs out there? How are you designing and implementing tools that are actually going to help these businesses that you work with to succeed in a post-isolated world and even as they continue to do business through this process? So instead of looking at hey, I'm a wholesale salesperson, I'm going to go learn digital marketing. You're not actually going to be helping anybody when you do that, right? The issue, hey there, Cindy, you're not actually going to be helping people, right? You're going to be learning a skill that you think might be interesting. But if you go and try to sell that skill set without having applicable or experience in it, you actually might be hurting your clients. And I don't think that's a good idea. Instead, if you do want to learn digital marketing and you are a wholesale salesperson, what I would suggest doing would simply be to take a look at, hey, I just took this digital advertising course. Hey, client X, I want to get practice and I want to learn how to apply this. And I know you are cash strapped right now. And so I want to help you and I could use some practice. And that is the most authentic and vulnerable and transparent way to be about it. That I guarantee there are so many small brands out there that could use that help. But if you're not authentic and transparent with them, then you're actually going to end up hurting their businesses and hurting your own reputation, right? And that is something that is a big, big no-no. Your reputation in this industry is everything. Okay. Next question. Thoughts on small production pieces during this time when things feel frozen? Should we save our designs for when business is back to normal? Okay. So here's what's crazy, guys, is there is no such thing as save it for later. Only because the reason why I say that is because when you're thinking about how the cycle of our industry moves, think of it like this. Right now, even though your spring orders might be getting a hit, right, which obviously is unfortunate, if in fact you will be showing and you will be selling spring summer 21, well, guess what, guys? That market is coming up in August. And guess what? That holiday market is coming up in June, July. And that men's market is coming up in June, July. So in resort and all of that. So there is no such thing as holding back, right? We're constantly in flow. By the time August, September market is over, coterie is over, all of a sudden you have October, November, December, January, boom, back again for Feb market when you're going to be selling fall. So the nature of our industry is actually so resilient. It's incredible how resilient it is. And the reason why I say it's resilient is because it doesn't stop. Brands right now are pushing out releases every month, every quarter, right? We're doing what we can in order to provide newness, in order to remain authentic with our customers, and in order to really be able to put forth hey, this is my brand, this is what I do, this is how I manage a crisis, this is how I manage when I'm not in a crisis. So you always have the ability at any single moment to decide your merchandising cadence, your marketing cadence. You can always shift it and change it as well. But if you do shift it and change it, you need to tell people why, right? You need to tell people what's happening, why you're doing it, why it's important that they hear it from you. Yes, the entire world knows that we're in a pandemic, but even still, if you do not communicate to your customer and let them know that you see, hear, feel what's going on, then hey, they might think that you have zero emotional intelligence and that you're not a company they want to do business with. So you are continuously at risk by a failure of communication, and you are continuously able to take advantage of things by communication. It's kind of a weakness and a strength depending on how you end up flipping it. But the industry continues. So how you are looking at designs, most designers will have 100 sketches for a season and they'll only go forward with 20 of them. So how you're designing, what you're designing, keep an archive, keep yourself creatively inspired. You might not be able to leave your house, but you do have an opportunity to get inspired. Today, I got an amazing email from the guys who host TED, and they said, hey, we are doing these free live concerts of all of our TED fellows who are the most exceptional artists and music performers. There are so many ways of now being able to digitally go through museums or being able to, watch an opera now. Like everything. I mean, honestly, I have a bit of Zoom fatigue, to be honest with you, but honestly, there are so many resources and places right now for you to get inspired that if you are not, in fact, actually, I'm going to put this out there, design challenge, okay? Like you should be bopping out a ton of sketches and like designing the shit right now, all right? This is your design challenge, right? I challenge you to design, and I'm not a designer, so I have no idea if this is realistic or not, but like, I dare you to design 50 sketches this week. And if that sounds unrealistic, will someone please tell me? Because I have no idea, right? I'm the numbers business strategy person. I'm not a designer. Is that unrealistic? Can people do that? I think so. With the amount of opportunity that there is to be connected, to have exposure to things. I mean, just the other day, I got another email from the Skull World Forum. And you know what's so cool is I've wanted to go to that Skull World Forum, but it was expensive, it's far, it's not something that I ever really could take the time to go to. And to be honest, not all of the programming was really applicable to me. But Skull World Forum went completely digital. And why is that amazing? Because now I can go online and cherry pick the lectures that I would have wanted to see had I been there in person. And I don't have to pay for it. I don't have to be invited. I can just show up. And so guys, if there are things that you've wanted to be exposed to, that you've wanted to have access to, this might be the moment where you have access to more things now than maybe you ever had before. So gosh, like super duper major upside for small cash-strapped startups. Okay, question here. What are my thoughts on doing more sponsored ad on Facebook and Instagram? Our resort collection has been haltered, but we have our swim in stock and are slightly worried about sales as a Caribbean business. Okay, great question from a great lady. Nice to see you. Okay, so let me answer this question. It is going to be a saturated market online for digital. So those of you guys out there who are looking at spending money on your digital ads, some of the most important things to realize are, number one, everyone is marketing and double downing on their digital ad spend. And the crazy thing about that is it's going to really increase the cost of acquisition because everybody is going to be doing it. So how do you stay smart with doing Facebook and Instagram ads? So this is where one of the things that comes into play here, which is, if you have been building community, if people know who you are, if you have an audience, then the first level of communication needs to be retargeting ads to your existing audience base. So what does the retargeting mean? The retargeting means that you are going on Facebook and Instagram ad funnels, and instead of targeting new audiences who are obviously going to be spending, who's going to be so targeted and it's going to be so expensive, you want to start targeting people who already know you, who've already been following you on Instagram, and who already have exposure to your website. That's going to be the cheapest way to get someone to get into your funnel and to convert to a sale, right? So I would actually start off with targeting people who already have some touch point. Much cheaper to convert and better for business. And that obviously only works if you have built a community or if people know about you online. So I think that's really important. Now, the next component and thing to think about is outside of retargeting on website traffic or retargeting people who are currently following you on social, you also want to ask yourself, how can I actually find ways of being able to activate on my newsletter base a bit more. And I would say try those strategies before you actually start to spend money on brand awareness campaigns. Because guys, all of the major retailers are going to be on brand awareness. In fact, this strategy that I'm suggesting is a similar strategy to what I've been talking about for years when it comes to holiday campaign and marketing, which means you spend the year building up your audience. So by the time the holiday sales season comes around, you're not fighting against really high advertising dollars. You're actually spending less money to convert businesses. It's less money to convert customers who already know your business. To me, that's a much better win-win. So if you don't have a ton of resources to do brand awareness campaigns, you might want to start thinking about ways in which you can get more active and social on Instagram, online, on forums, on Facebook, and start to find ways of bridging together relationships. I have a lot of clients right now who I've said, hey, this is your time to make friends in the industry. This is your time to get to know who your other partnerships can possibly be, who the other brands in your space. Find ways of doing co-sponsorship, opportunities together, giveaway boxes. My gosh, I'm surprised I haven't seen more people do giveaways on how to have a good time and look good on Zoom calls. All right. It is definitely business up top and casual on the bottom, right? So when you're thinking about interesting and innovative ways to be able to market, it's not just all Facebook and Instagram dollars. All right, guys. That is all from me. We are doing 1 hour free crisis management calls. The link is in our Instagram bio link. Please click on it. You'll be able to sign up for a free hour. We have been talking so far to so many different businesses across so many categories. Obviously, we focus a lot on retail, but so many other sectors have been hit by this, and we've been able to help strategize so many interesting business models. You are so welcome. It's a pleasure. So we'll be continuously doing these Instagram lives. So keep in touch on the feed. Make sure you know when we're doing it, and come with questions. As shit comes up for you, we're here to support you. All right. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.